I think we'll start. We do have one more candidate who's supposed to arrive around 2 o'clock, and it's about 5 after, so we'll start anyway. First thing I want to say is welcome candidates to the 1st Congressional District in the state of New Hampshire. It's a pleasure to have you here. We appreciate you taking your time to be here. This is a forum, it's not a debate, but we'd like to have you talk what you'd like to tell us about yourselves and what you think the issues are in the future and all that sort of thing. So with that, we're going to give, each person will get 5 minutes to talk. We will have a signal down here at 4.5 minutes to let you know when you have 30 seconds left. And then I come over with a big hook. Oh boy. I don't know that there's anything else we need to say, so let's get to the business at hand. We're going to do it alphabetically, and that means that Frank Guinta, I think, will be the first speaker. 5 minutes.
Well, thank you very much, Conrad, and good afternoon, everybody. Hope you're well. Thank you very much for coming to this forum, and thank you for having all of us to talk about the issues that we all face as a nation. My name is Frank Guinta. I'm serving currently as your representative to Congress in my 1st term, and I want to thank you for that opportunity and the ability to serve you and try to do my very best to reflect the views and values of the 1st Congressional District of New Hampshire. For those of you that don't know, I've been married to my wife Morgan for almost 15 years now. We've got 2 great kids. Our daughter Colby is 9 years old, and our son Jack is 7. And I really do see the future of our country through their eyes, and through that lens of what America is going to be like for our future, for our kids and for our grandkids. I think we all think that. This is, I think, one of the most important elections of our lifetime, and you probably hear that quite often. But I think never has there been a time when we have amassed $16 trillion in debt, have year-to-year deficits at about $1.2 trillion currently, when we have the size of the federal government growing at a rapid pace, when we have 42 months, consecutive months of unemployment exceeding 8%. These are things that I think bother every American. And I think people want American solutions, not Republicans, not Democrats, not partisan politics, but I think people want solutions. And I think as your member representing you, I feel that you ought to know the truth about what's really going on in Washington. Now, I served as mayor of Manchester for 2 terms, was able to cut taxes, cut borrowing, see economic growth, focus our delivery system of services in a more expedient way, more effective and a more efficient way. And I think that's what we want to see out of how Washington operates. We want to see people working together. We want people to be ensuring that your tax dollars are spent wisely, and that we come up with a long-term plan to reduce our debt, to reduce our deficit, and to ensure that the future of America is stronger, more vibrant, with greater opportunity than we're seeing today. And I think there's a certain way to do that. I think that we have to focus on a pro-growth economy. I think we've got to be smart about expenditures and reform in areas where you're seeing waste, fraud, and abuse. I think we need to continue our ban on earmarks and wasteful spending. And I think that we need to ensure that each and every American knows where every single dollar is spent. At the very least, this is your money. And we need to be good stewards of your money. And that has been the focus of my last 1.5 years as your representative in Congress. It was my focus as mayor of our state's largest city. It was my focus as a city alderman, as a state legislator, and when I was even a small business owner, being efficient about the dollars that I oversaw. And I hope that we have a great opportunity to talk about and answer your questions today, and I look forward to the remainder of this campaign and hope to earn your support in September and then again in November to serve as your representative again in Congress. Thank you very much.
I don't think I have the power to turn them on and off. My name is Robin Willits, and I'm a resident of Riverwoods. And I am concerned about much of what you have talked about in terms of people's need for a safety net and so on. But underneath all of this, nobody is talking about the huge military budget and the amount of money we're spending on our military, which is more than our 5 worst possible enemies combined. I think that is a gross over misexpenditure that is making a great deal of contribution to the huge deficit. And I would like to know what each of you would do about the huge military budget.
Americans, and I think our military does a phenomenal job of that. I think we've got the best military in the world. In this last Congress, we actually did reduce the Department of Defense budget. We felt that there are responsible ways that we can reduce expenditures in just about every single department, one of which was the Department of Defense. I think we can further enact proper spending reductions by continuing, not just in the Department of Defense, but with every single department, audits. We've done about half, we've got another half to go. Reduce on the civilian side through attrition and through the procurement process. That is ongoing as we speak. But within that context, we should also understand that the defense budget is within discretionary spending, which is 1/3 of the budget, and mandatory spending is 2/3 of the budget. We've got to look at all sides of the budget in terms of how to get our expenditures in line, and we've got to look at some pro-growth economic policies to grow the economy, to have more people paying into the Treasury, more people back to work, so we have what I think is a responsible approach to get to balance and reduce our long-term deficit. And the final thing I would say is this. First of all, if you are a veteran in this room, I thank you for your service. I thank you for what you did to provide us the blanket of freedom that we enjoy each and every day. And as members of the House of Representatives and members in the Senate should always understand that when we prioritize our budgets, veterans need to come first. Veterans absolutely need to come first. I have heard from too many veterans in our state that have to fight for their benefits. Something they've earned, not something they should fight for, but something they've earned. And that is an absolute paramount responsibility we as a nation. Can we reduce defense spending? Yes, we can. We've done it. We can continue to do it by finding those efficiencies, by being more effective with taxpayer dollars, and we should apply that not just to defense, but to all agencies throughout the federal government.
I'd like to direct this question to Congressman Guinta, if I may.
Wait a minute. Get your microphone.
Hi, I'm a retired practicing physician, and I'd like to direct my question to Congressman Guinta regarding Medicare. Since many economic auditors of Medicare, both
Closer.
Congressional Budget Office, as well as from various other civilian sources, including schools of public health, have shown that there is a major discrepancy in the overhead between the cost of medical care rendered by Medicare, a federal agency, and by private insurance companies. I'd like to have you explain to this gray-haired audience, practically all of whom, or perhaps all, are receiving benefits of Medicare, how the voucher system is going to reduce this overhead and this overhead between insurance companies and Medicare, and therefore save money for the government.
Well, there's a couple different ways that we can save money in the Medicare system. As you know, as a retired physician, the mandatory expenditures at the federal level are Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security. They're essentially on autopilot at about 8.5–9% increase per year, unless there's an act by Congress signed into law by the President of the United States. There's two, I think, key things we can do. First, we've identified roughly minimum of 10% of Medicare dollars that fall into the waste, fraud, and abuse category. So we need to have our federal, the overseers of the program, have more capability of stopping that waste, fraud, and abuse and put those dollars back into the program. They should go directly to a senior who is a recipient of the program. Secondly, what was proposed last year in the House, and then again this year in the House, was a program to preserve and protect Medicare. We had hearings in the Budget Committee. The trustees of the Medicare Trust came to our committee and said, if nothing is done within 12 years, Medicare will go bankrupt. So as I came back to New Hampshire every weekend, and every week that we were not in Washington, to talk to people throughout the district, I said, do you want us to try to solve this problem? And most people, regardless of ideology or party affiliation, says, yes, absolutely, we want you to solve the problem. So our first proposal was a program that first exempted everyone who's 55 and older. Anyone at or near retirement would not see any change to traditional Medicare. For future recipients, there would be an option, not a voucher, but you get a book in the mail similar to a member of Congress, and you can choose the kind of coverages you want, and then the federal government sends a check on your behalf to that entity. It doesn't go to you and then transfer from you to the entity. It goes directly to the entity. And the idea would be competing for that business. And we've got 35 million recipients today. We have 10,000 people coming onto the Medicare rolls each and every day. We're looking at a projected amount of about 75 million users within the next 20 years. We want to make sure that it's preserved and protected. We want to make sure that current seniors or anyone near retirement doesn't see any change because, quite frankly, people who are at or near retirement have worked all their lives with the expectation that the current Medicare program will be there for them, and they should do that. Now, year two, we modified the proposal. The proposal became a bipartisan proposal where we had Senator Wyden, a Democrat senator from Oregon, who joined in with the budget chairman on the House side to put together a bipartisan proposal that does this. You either, for future, again, everyone 55 and older is exempt. Anyone under that age would have two options: traditional Medicare as it's currently instituted, or the option of having that check sent on your behalf directly to those who are vying for your business. So now you would have in that proposal two different options, and that passed the House again this year. But here's the more important thing. We need to have this conversation as a country. We cannot ignore this conversation. This cannot be the quote-unquote third rail of politics. It shouldn't be used as scare tactics to scare the country. I think everyone, whether you are retired or near retirement, or whether you're in your 20s and 30s, we need to solve this challenge. And we need the country to have the facts. And let's have a productive conversation about how we're going to solve the problem. If there are other solutions that are proposed, either by the President or by other members of the House or the Senate, I would take a look at them. But so far, we haven't seen those proposals. So I would like to see an ongoing dialogue between the House and the Senate in a bipartisan way to come up with, finally, a solution that can get passed not just by the House but the Senate and signed into law by the President.
Follow up a minute.
Well, wait a minute. Let's have another question, because I think we probably, the only thing I'd like to see, okay, I'd like to have a yes/no answer though. Who favors vouchers?
I don't favor a voucher program. The program that was proposed is a premium support program. Voucher goes to the individual.
Okay.
This does not go to the individual. It goes to the program that you choose.
On these, yes or no?